Hey guys, it's Ryan from Ryan Anthony's Heating and Air Conditioning. Hey guys, it's Ryan from Ryan Anthony's Heating and Air Conditioning. Today I'm Ryan from Long Island Building and Contracting Consultants. These Fujitsu mini splits, they have 4 options. Did a quick case study on a block that I actually grew up in West Babylon. Hey guys, this is Ryan from Ryan Anthony's Heating and Air Conditioning Services and also Long Island Building and Contracting Consultants. This is Frank. Frank's my marketing man. Basically, this is one of one right now, or one of many conversations that we're going to have coming up. This is yet another endeavor that we're looking into, and we're going to have guests and talk about experiences and have some stories and hopefully bring some knowledge to, I want to say today's youth, but maybe also people that are my elder, I don't know. Anyone that's looking to maybe start a business or something like that, or
or can relate to a business struggle or an issue
Yes.
that we're bound to talk about in an upcoming video.
Yes, there'll be much of those stories will be told.
We got a few of those.
So keep watching and remember to follow us. The main focus here is to talk about how we started, how I started, how you started, and what you were doing. And I also want to get my education coming up was, obviously school up to high school. We did 2 years at SUNY Farmingdale College. I was working full time while I was going. But my most important lessons that were taught to me were by the people I surrounded myself with. So on this show, I guess you want to call it, that we're doing, or podcast or whatnot, I want to introduce a lot of my influencers that influenced me throughout my journey in my business for the last almost 14 years.
Right.
So I figured I'd start on how I actually started from when I started working. So I always knew that I wanted to work. I always liked working, I always enjoyed working, so it goes all the way back to, when my father used to cut the lawn. And I used to beg him to let me push the mower, and I'd be like 9, 10 years old. So, and then for a while my father wouldn't let me, but as I got older, of course, it could be dangerous. So when I started mowing the lawn, I'd be excited about mowing the lawn with my dad. Then I remember Babylon riding stables. My brother used to go there for horseback riding lessons. So he would go for lessons, and I thought that by working there, I would get my brother's lessons for free and whatever else. So I would go clean the stalls and clean the horses and stuff like that on Saturday mornings, and I would work for like a hot dog.
Right.
Or every now and then they would order Chinese food, and I thought it was like the greatest thing. And my mom, she didn't have the heart to tell me that, maybe I was getting a little taken advantage of, but it is what it is. It taught me, lessons, but maybe I shouldn't mention the name of the place. And then during that time, that phased out, and then I started mowing lawns. Actually, I started weed whacking. Carol across the street, I used to weed whack her lawn, but her lawn, she had an electric weed whacker because I didn't have a weed whacker. And I just had to run the cord, and she, across the street from where we grew up on Nims Avenue, West Babylon, it was like a football field of yard. So I would have to run the cord, different plugs and extension cords and electric, and she only wanted to weed whack because she didn't really grow enough grass to mow it. Old lady, sweetheart, she's a customer to this day. We just did her boiler last year.
Oh, great.
So, I did her house, I did another woman up the block, I forget her name, and I did 3 houses. And 2 of the houses were the lawn fields, and then the other house was, a yard like the yard I grew up in. And I remember, that was my thing, and my friends would be outside playing, and I'd be working, and they'd be like, well, what are you doing? And I'm earning some money, but I would literally get paid $10. So I'd work like 2-3 hours, I get $10, but I was literally like 12 years old. So that was like, I always wanted to work and make money. One of the houses I remember, I think I bagged like 35 bags of leaves, and they had a dog, and the dog shit, in the leaves, and I'd be picking up the leaves with dog shit in it. And I remember I would get $15 on those days but that would take me literally like a entire day, 30 days, but I didn't mind. I got me $15 and whatever else. Then I kind of graduated too, because at that time I was too young to work on a landscaping truck, and that's really what I wanted to do. But I think it was 13 or 14. I think I was in 9th grade, 9th or 10th grade. But I was in a business class, and it wasn't Mr. Cutie's class, because I didn't go to his class until 11th grade. He was like my favorite business teacher. He actually still follows us on Facebook. But
Shout out.
yeah, one of the other business teachers got, you know, because you get working papers, so must have been 14. So you get your working papers, and he had an opportunity to work in the warehouse, and you could work, you know, after school or however you wanted to do it.
Right.
So at the time, my baseball coach was my guidance counselor, so my schedule was always pretty good. So from 10th grade onto 12th grade, I was out of school by like 12:30. You know, it's just how it worked out. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that. He's not working for the school anymore, so I can't say that. So I would leave school 12:30, and I wouldn't go hang out with my friends or anything like that. I would go work at this place called C3 Technologies, and what I did there is I packaged electronic components,
Okay.
put the packaging slips together and whatever else, and this company would buy electronic components here, and they would sell it overseas. So I had to, you know, make sure the packaging was correct and make sure the items were placed in there properly and matched up. And you know, I made relationships in that company, and you know, I think I was making like $12 an hour, which was 14. It was great.
Not better than
you know.
making leaves.
Yeah, absolutely,
$12.
absolutely. And then I forgot how I used to get there because I didn't have a license at the time. I was 14. So fast forward now to I think that summer. I decided not to work for that company because I could finally work on the landscaping truck. So there was a guy around the corner. I won't mention his name. You know, he was a nice guy. He gave me a job, but maybe he took advantage as well. You know, but I mowed lawns for like 3 summers, and I remember up until I got my permit. And then when we got our permit, we were actually, my brother and I worked. I have a twin brother. If you guys don't know that already, we would work on a truck. We mow like 40 houses a day. We get pizza or deli. It was pizza Wednesdays and Fridays, and deli on Thursdays.
Okay.
And which was fine. We made our $65 cash, but we were doing like 40 lawns a day.
Mhm.
And it was to the point where, you know, we were working with him long enough seasons. We knew the customers' houses, we knew the routes, and you know, he'd have guys that he'd bring in, and we kind of would tell them what to do, even though they were like 40-year-old men.
Right.
He was 16 at the time. So we asked for a raise for $100, and he didn't want to give it.
Yeah.
So we stopped doing it. So then at 16, I think I went back to C3 Technologies full time then. I was still in school, and then I graduated. I was 17 when I graduated because my birthday's September.
Yeah.
So I went back to school for C3 for another couple of months, so back to work for that company. And then my friend Bob, who I'm partners with the
Building
building a contracting company with, I met them like a year prior to that. And his friend Frank was working for him at the time, and Frank was leaving to go get a job at one of the colleges as a police officer. So it was an opportunity for me to go work with Bob. So I went to work for Bob. I worked for Bob for like a year and a half. We hung sheetrock, did all, you know, base molding, trim, windows, stuff like that. You know, it was good work. And even then, like, it's funny how things work out, because even then I had the idea of, you know, why don't we buy another van? I'll buy the van, and we're partners, and we can do this construction, and we can grow crews, and you know, you work for this big company as a subcontractor, and we can really grow this. And he ended up not wanting to do it, and which is fine, you know, he decided not to. But then I had an opportunity, because most of you know this already, but my father has a fuel delivery business.
Okay.
You know, not a big company, answers the phone, drives the truck, customers love him. He used to park his truck in Bayview Heating Oil's yard, which is around the corner from my house. So Peter was the owner of the company, nice guy. He offered me a position in the oil ground service company. So, you know, I remember sitting down talking to him, and he offered, you know, you can have health insurance, benefits, blah, blah, blah. So I actually saw some opportunity there. And then also I had in the back of my mind that at the time my father was recommending this guy, I won't mention his name, for service. And I remember to this day, even when I was 13, 14 years old, because my father's had the business for over 20 years, them saying, hey, listen, I called so-and-so, and I have had no heat for 2 days, and he hasn't showed up, and he hasn't called me. So in the back of my mind, I thought, you know, I could go learn this business, and I could start my own business, and then I could branch off and do service to my dad's customers.
Right.
So I went to work at Bayview, $10 an hour is where I started. The incentive was that as soon as you can get into a truck and learn service and provide a service call for a customer, they bump you right up to $16 an hour. So there was huge
That's
incentive.
it right there.
I never, you know, at $16 an hour, that's a lot of money. I was 18,
Right.
19, almost 19 at the time. So I'm working, I remember he put me with a guy, and he really wasn't teaching me a lot. And I was kind of a pain in the ass because at that time in this industry, no one wanted to teach you because it's job security.
Right.
They see a young guy coming up, I'm not going to teach you because you're going to take my job. So I went through like 2 or 3 guys, and they were nice to me. I was always respectful to them. And finally, the supervisor of that company, his name is John Esposito. I will mention his name because to this day, still love the name because he taught me a huge chunk of my knowledge at the time. So
I think you might have referenced in one of the prior videos you made.
yeah, we used to call him Johnny Bag of Donuts. Yeah. So he was actually just here like a month ago style with his loud Camaro. So John gets me under his wing, and I'm a pain in the ass. I ask 100 questions. At the time, I was actually going to BOCES trade school to also learn at night. So anything I learned during the day, I would go to school at night. I would ask my teacher. My teacher's name is Ken Mesnick. He's a rep for Rath Associates. So a very good relationship with him today as well. I'll get back to him later. But Johnny took me under his wing. Within 3 months, I'm in my own service van. $16 an hour. Happy.
There it is.
So I'm learning the service. I'm doing service calls. I'm learning as I go. I get, as you learn, you get stuck. Just like, I train guys now. I would call John. Ken. I had a good relationship with the teacher at BOCES. I would call him. He would kind of guide me along the way. But I knew enough where I can get myself out of situations and fix the problem just by making a phone.
Right.
So I was mechanical. So within like a year or two, actually within a year, I'm in my truck. I'm basically becoming one of the lead mechanics for the company because I got, the drive to do it. I remember, and this is what bothers me about my guys. My only day off was Thursday, all year round. So I worked, and not for more pay either. So my days were, I worked Friday to Wednesday. I was off Thursday. I got time and a half for the 6th day, but my weekends were, I was on call.
Right.
So I started being on call for the heating industry since I'm 18, 19 years old. So I was always very used to it. So fast forward, I'm working, it's about 3 years. During the 2nd year, I bought that gray van that I had outside, 03 E350. And Kenny, my teacher from BOCES, gave me my first stock for that truck, which I'll never forget.
Right.
So, it wasn't, extravagant, but it was nozzles, filters, some simple controls, stuff like that. And I would even help him. I would go on some of his night service calls because he had his own business as well. So it was kind of like watch both hands, but it was really more helping me, which I still to this day, I always remember that. So I'm doing my van, I'm doing side work. I let my boss know, like I said, kind of when he hired me, I kind of let him know that this is my ambition, this is my idea. Like, I want to learn here and I want to go on my own. So he was cool about it. I used to drive the van to work, and then after work, my dad's customers would need service. I would get out of the baby truck. I would take my tools out of the baby truck, put them in my gray van, and I would go take care of my father's customers. And I did that for like 6 more months. And it got to the point where, by then my boss had upped me to like $21 an hour. And I really felt like I deserved more.
Right.
And I kind of saw it as like the writing on the wall. Like, maybe it's your time. You
move on.
Yeah. So I remember I kind of told him, I was very respectful about it, that I'm leaving, I'm going to go try to do it on my own. And he offered me like $25 an hour, which I don't blame him because I wouldn't want to lose a guy like me either.
Right.
So I left and I started my company in September of 06. So September of 06 I started. Officially. I got incorporated, I think, like the last week of August.
Right.
That was my official, I gotta check my book. But that was my official start date, and it was tough. It was tough, but it wasn't tough because I was used to being on call all those days as it was.
You had the work ethic.
Yes, I wasn't used to being on call 24/7 because when I worked for a company, we had a night guy, so I would work till 5 o'clock, and then the night guy would come on. Unless it was really busy, and we'd help the night guy get a few calls off. But when you own your own business, you're on call 24 hours. So I missed a ton of vacations. I missed, going out on weekends with my friends. I missed a lot of things. And then during the first year, you notice that I didn't do air conditioning time. So summertime came around, and I really wasn't that busy. No, I would still work as much as I can. I remember I would even go work with other plumbers to keep busy because I didn't like sitting home. I was always good with saving and stuff like that. But then I got an opportunity to start bouncing, which is how I met you.
Yes.
So I remember my first job was at 4 on 110,
Yep.
and Ken Hinchman was the lead bouncer there. I wasn't like a huge guy or anything, but you know, they hired me. I was like a young kid, and
Yeah.
you know, at the time, it was a perfect job for a single guy. So I basically ran my business, and I
At night.
bounced that night for almost 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, probably eight years, something like that. I built a lot of relationships there in the club industry when there were clubs on Long Island.
Yeah.
And, you know, like I said, we have our relationship, which was weird because it went like dormant for a while because we stopped working at the clubs and you called me for your boiler
My boiler.
3 years ago.
3 years, yeah, about 3.5 years ago.
Yeah, when you were doing the dormer on the house.
Yep.
So, fast forward, making connections, friends, hiring guys, firing guys, trying to get guys to, you know, see my vision, see my
Right.
dream. And I remember it was right around when I met my wife. I met my wife in October of 2014. So now you fast forwarding all those years.
Yeah.
It was a real struggle. You know, I bought my house in 2011. I used my house as a office shop. You know, so I was growing. I was making money.
Right.
And then I met my wife in October of 14. I had 2 guys working for me at the time. But those 2 guys weren't servicemen. They were basically just, they can only do what I could be on site watching them do.
Right.
Which wasn't their fault. They weren't experienced, but they were helping me out. And then I met my supervisor. Actually, I met him a year ago, Warren, which most of my customers know Warren.
Warren.
Basically, him and Dave basically run the day-to-day on the servicemen now.
Right.
And I remember I must have talked to him like a year prior and asked him to come work for me.
Yeah.
And at that time, it was 2014, Warren ends up coming to work for me. And I never paid anyone health insurance before. I never really, like the guys that worked for me when it was slow, I wouldn't be able to pay them. That's
Right.
but I knew when I hired him, I knew that I had to commit and I had to, now I really have to make
Right.
this work. So I hired Warren, got health insurance, and then basically it went on from there. I think the time I hired Warren, I had like 2 trucks.
Okay.
2 trucks at the time, and now we grew up to 10 trucks. You know, we had 3 guys at the time. During the whole last couple of years, we went up to like having 20 guys.
Right.
You know, we started working for other oil companies and doing subcontract work and stuff like that, and a lot of lessons learned. And along the way, which is why we want to start this, is, you know, I made a lot of connections, networking. I picked a lot of brains.
Yep.
You know, and I kind of want kids today that are maybe not sure what their future holds to know that you can still have a bright future if you work hard and you have ambition.
Yep.
You know, not necessarily not saying you shouldn't go to college, but you don't have to go to college.
It may not be for everybody.
No, you don't have to go to college. You know, you could, if you work hard and you're ambitious and you really are fixated on what your goals are, you can make things happen. And basically, that sums up where we are today. To a certain extent. I mean, I could talk for hours about this, but you know, but that being said, during the last 3 months, we've had time to think and plan, and you know, we built this office and do all these things. That's when, you know, for the last year or so, I got together with Bob and
Right.
formed a building contracting company.
Yep.
So it's kind of funny because it's a similar story to how I met my wife. When I met Bob and I wanted to do the building and contracting company then, we didn't do it, but it wasn't meant to be then.
Right.
Now, fast forward 14 years, well, actually 17 years, because I worked
Right.
for Brady for 3 years.
And here you are.
And here I am, but now how much stronger we are,
Right.
because I have a whole mechanical company.
Yep.
We have people in place where we have a building contracting company now that's almost fully under one roof.
Right.
We have minimal subs, but all the meat and potato work is we do,
Yep.
which I don't think a lot of contracting companies offer that. You know,
Not on Long Island,
not that I know.
man. Yeah.
You know, so like I said, it wasn't meant to be, but it's funny because that's exactly how I met my wife. I don't know if I told you this story,
No.
but when I was like, I think I was like 21, I didn't know this until I met my wife years later. She told me this story. She had recently broken up with a guy, and I think she was 17 at the time, because she's 3 years younger than me, 17, 18. And she'd broken up with a guy, and she was out with a couple of girls, and they were going out to a bar in Babylon. And the girl's like, oh, you know, whatever, you'll be fine. You know how girls talk. You'll be fine, you get over this guy. I have a guy, he's a twin, his name is Ryan. he's gonna be at this bar tonight. I want to introduce you to him because you'll like him. So, fast forward. Now I don't know nothing about this. My wife, now my now wife, who I didn't know then,
Yes.
goes to the bar and they're hanging out, and I walk in with another girl. So she's like, "Well, that's out. You know, I'm not going to." That same night, she met her husband, her now ex-husband.
Right.
That same night. So,
The odds of that are
but
actually.
now if I met my wife then,
Right.
I probably wouldn't have the relationship that I have with my wife now.
Right.
I wasn't ready then, and neither was
Yeah,
she.
she.
So she ends up, she meets this guy, they get married, they have a little boy, and fast forward years later, they end up getting divorced. We come back into each other's life, not knowing that I was ever even in her life then.
Right.
I could have been, but I wasn't. And now we're both older, we both know more what we want to achieve in life, and you know, that was 2004, this was almost 6 years ago.
Wow.
I met my wife. Married 2 years now. We had a baby last year, which most of the people on Facebook know. And
Yeah.
you know, so it's almost like
It's meant to be.
Well, mentally, I feel like you can mentally make things happen in your brain.
Right.
I think that you could, you know, if you believe enough, you want things bad enough, they just happen. If you think about it every day. Not that I thought about meeting my wife. I got lucky.
So don't be
my,
an
wife,
athlete.
my wife's everything because all this goodness that's happened with my company started happening when I met my wife.
Right.
We moved into this office like 2 months after I met my wife. So like a lot of that I contribute to
So having
having
in
her
your life.
and her being in my life and grounding me. So it's important.
That's it.
Crazy.
It's a long story, but I'm sure we could talk about it forever.
It's a long story.
It's,
I don't know if
pretty
everyone's gonna
interesting.
listen
I
to
was sitting here listening to it.
Yeah.
They tell me stuff I didn't even know.
Yeah, no. Because I'd have to sit here and chew your ear. Yeah, no. It's good though.
That's great.
Like I said, it has, you know, we built a relationship in the last 3 years now.
Yeah.
That,
It's much stronger than what it was.
yeah, we were
Right.
just really friendly then.
Right.
I was the bouncer, you were the promoter,
Right.
and that was it. We were respectful, we were friendly. and
That's it.
But now I talk to you
Every day.
eight times a day. I'll text you at 11 o'clock with an idea,
Yeah.
and you won't be upset about it
No.
because you're up
I'm
working.
already thinking about it.
So,
Yeah.
no, it's all good.
So my company, Chamber Promotions, we started 04, 05, basically with MySpace. You probably don't know this story. I was dating my now wife. She and her girlfriend decided they were going to go to Florida over the weekend, and I was not working at a nightclub that night. I don't know what it was, and I went on Craigslist and I said, "Who needs MySpace help? Who needs an account? Whatnot?" Because back then you can go on there and do that stuff. So now the next morning, I had 3 messages from someone looking for MySpace help.
Right.
Build out their account, get all their friends, and really grow their business. They were pretty persistent in emailing me, and that was one of my first clients, Barry Fischel. If you're out there, I know you are, we're Facebook friends. You were one of my first clients. I do have to give
It
a
was
lot
just
of,
for a business?
it was for a music band.
Okay.
They were based out of Brooklyn. I don't know the status of the band right now. I don't want to talk too much about it. But I do have to give credit.
Fans break up.
Yes. I do have to give a lot of credit though to, well, you'll laugh at this one, Adam Laratsky.
Uh-huh.
If not, basically takes credit for my whole life. If you know him, you know
Of
he
course.
takes credit for everything.
Yeah.
He was bar manager over at Mirage, which everyone on Long Island probably knows.
Which is where I also bounced.
Yes.
Met.
And John Jr. and of course John Sr. Gave me the opportunity to run their MySpace accounts. So we started running that and then opened up the nightclub Glow in the city before it became Glow on Long Island. Started doing MySpace accounts for that, and then Facebook developed. And then from that point on, it was just very evident that social media was really going to take off. I had a business degree, a master's in business management. Decided to put this into use. Not only working with nightclubs, but then it became restaurants, DJs, other businesses, national as well as local, and every other major platform as it developed. So it was MySpace, then it became Facebook, once Facebook opened up to the public. I didn't have to go to college or have an email address associated with the school in order to join.
I remember that time.
That was the
sucked
worst.
because my brother was in Delaware University.
Yep.
And I was like, we have MySpace, we're in college.
Yeah. Couldn't get on.
Yeah, I can't get on.
And
Fine,
it was the worst. It was like this activity you wanted to join in, this want, but it was a select group. And
Right.
I was already out of school. I didn't even use my college email address at that time, so I couldn't get on. But then it became from MySpace to Facebook to Twitter, Vine. For those of you that know Vine, which many of you might relate to TikTok now, which was Musical.ly, Instagram, Snapchat. We've developed accounts and marketing plans and proposals and consulting for every major industry in a sense,
Right.
whether it be HVAC, like I said, nightclub, restaurant, magazines, cafes, eateries, DJs. It's pretty much out there. If you're on social media, we've worked with your industry, one way or the other.
Right.
But yes, moving, and thank you to my amazing wife Denise for planning that Miami trip. Because without that, it wouldn't have sparked me to try to reach out to different businesses and present that opportunity to them to grow their business online, because it was such an early
With an
period.
idea.
Yes.
One idea.
Yes. And again, if she did not go on that trip for the weekend, it probably would have dragged on. But again, Adam, amazing that you have pushed me to, I'll give you all the credit because that's what you really want. But basically, over the course of time, you and I have formed a working relationship.
Mhm.
After you installed my boiler, which was done immaculately, by the way, called Memorial Day weekend, Labor Day weekend actually.
Yeah.
Labor Day weekend on a Monday. Tuesday they were at my house. Thursday the boiler was being installed.
Yeah.
And water heater.
Mhm.
Which was immediate because basically we had a house under construction, building a dormer, and that was the last thing that we needed to have happen.
Right.
But you guys came in, didn't impede the dormer build at all, and again, in and out in one day was great.
Right.
And then I think fast forward like maybe 2 or 3 months later, you reached out again and said, let's talk about website, let's talk about
Yeah, because at the time,
social.
I had another company, and
Right.
you know me, I'm loyal to a fault,
Yes.
but I usually get taken advantage of, which whatever.
Yeah.
I'm learning not to be as I don't want to say I don't want to be loyal because I am, but I'm learning who to be loyal to a little
Right.
more. But it takes years.
Yeah.
But we ended up kind of broke up. You basically break up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I broke up with that company and went over to you, and then
Yeah.
I think you first started doing the social media, and then you took over everything.
Yeah, we started just managing
Yeah.
everything else.
But at that time, we were taking a big risk because we were going from subcontracting, which is basically
Yeah.
those companies marketed, those companies got the jobs, those companies did, and we did it for a sub rate.
Yep.
And we were leaving them because they were monopolizing the market.
Yep.
And we were doing this, and then we basically that's a huge risk.
Yeah, and I think our first video you had said let's throw the kitchen sink at everything.
Yeah.
And I'm ease up,
Yeah.
let's and he said no, let's go. And we've been pretty much going full speed since.
You know what's funny? The guys that well now it's Ferguson. I don't want to mention Ferguson. Blackman. The guys at Blackman gave me a huge opportunity, but those are the same guys that were like, "Yo, Ryan, pull the reins back," and I didn't listen. And maybe not listening helped me learn quicker.
Yeah.
And taking a risk, but now looking back, maybe I should have listened a little bit because it was some expensive lessons.
Right. Yeah. Well, but you learned them.
But we're here now, and we're prospering
Yes.
even through all this, and it's good. Now here we are today.
Yeah.
So,
It's full circle. You never know who you might start a business with, or
right,
who you might go into business with, or who you might work alongside.
right,
You never know. Sometimes your best friends become business partners.
Right.
20 years later, you're
Right.
working with Bob.
Yeah.
Someone that you didn't necessarily think 5 years ago you might be working with or
Right.
forming a business with.
right. And now we'll have, like you said, we'll have people that are successful, very successful businessmen,
Right.
And women that I've met over the years on this you want to call it a podcast or a video or whatever?
Call it a podcast for now and
Yeah.
see how it develops.
Yeah,
See
and-
where it goes.
And we'll talk about their stories and how they came to where they are today and whatever else. And I always was called weird for that, by the way. I don't know if you're similar to me, but I was always friendly, more close. I was always closest with. I was close to my friends, but I was always closer with people older than me. That was, not just because I was, but I wanted to pick their brain all
Right.
the time. And my friends used to tease me about it, but I learned a lot of things, even from just friends that aren't business owners and from people who are older that were successful in business. I learned a lot of their mistakes, what not to do, and
Right.
also how to do a lot of things and what to avoid and what to. And then when I needed advice, I had people. I think that's very important for kids coming up. Like, if you have grandparents, which I only had one because my dad's father wasn't really a good grandparent. I didn't call on birthdays and stuff like that. And my dad's mom passed away when I was young.
Okay.
My mom's dad, I never met. But my mom's mom, we call her Mama. She was like everything. So we've since lost her, years ago. But if you have like a grandparent or an older friend or someone else's grandparent or someone else's father, I'm closer to some of my friends' fathers now than I am with my friends that I was friends with in high school.
Right.
Which is weird. People say it's weird, but I pick their brain. I enjoy their stories.
Their knowledge.
I think that's important. I think that's what a lot of today's, youth, because we are older now. We're not in our 20s.
Yeah.
How old are you?
41.
You're 41.
41.
So I'm younger than you. I'm
Yeah.
35.
Yeah.
I got you beat by 6 years.
Yeah. That's why you email me and you text me. I give you some knowledge.
Yeah, there you go. See, I'm doing it now. And I didn't even know it.